Hey everyone, welcome to another video from Compliance. Today we have Karthik here. He is our domain expert. So we'll be conversing about Malaysian market and e-invoicing in Malaysia. What is the future prospects in Malaysia for compliance and for general public and companies? Hi Karthik, how are you doing today?
Hey, hi Siddharth. I'm fine. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fine. So Karthik, let's dive into the questions. So can you briefly explain what is IRBM or LHDN, and can you explain whether there will be any engagement sessions for the industry players with IRBM?
So coming firstly with LHDN. LHDN is a short form and a Malaysian word of IRBM.
Okay.
What does it mean by IRBM is like Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia. Okay, so it's basically a taxation authority or a tax authority of Malaysia who is actually taking care of e-invoicing things.
Okay.
So that's a little bit, a brief background of LHDN or IRBM in simple. And whereas when it comes to the engagement sessions of IRBM with any public, IRBM is conducting a series of engagements with key stakeholders and market players, industry experts or domain experts in this particular e-invoicing practices, etc. And they are making a to and fro communication. They are just not letting their decisions know out into the market or into the players, but also they are taking the feedback, letting the players know what exactly they are already doing. I mean, what kind of practices, what kind of models they want to take it up, what kind of taxation norms that they are, taxation policies that they are going to form, etc. They are already letting the key players in the market know it.
Okay, the next question is e-invoicing applicable to transactions only in Malaysia?
Fair. That's a very valid question. So basically, just like in any other country, e-invoicing is in Malaysia is applicable to both domestic transactions and also cross-border transactions in simple exports and imports. And when it comes to domestic transactions, it applies to three category of transactions as like in any other domain, like B2B, B2C and B2G, which means like business, consumer and government transactions. So in specific to your questions, yes, it applies to even cross-border transactions also.
Okay. So moving on to the next question. What e-invoicing model will be adopted by Malaysia?
Okay, right now Malaysia is adopting CTC model of e-invoicing.
Okay.
So in simple, what is CTC? CTC is like continuous transaction controls. Any part of the world where e-invoicing is not followed, they used to do a retroactive audit. Which means you will record all the transactions throughout the year in your financial statements or any accounting software, and you will conduct an audit at end of the year. But whereas in this CTC model, every invoice will be validated in real time or at least in near real time basis. So that's how CTC will work, and IRBM is now actually adopting CTC model.
So you will have a time period within which you have to submit that invoice.
Exactly. Okay. So as the time period, as we are telling, like it's real time.
Real time, okay.
Yes, I mean few countries might even say like 5 days time also, but when it comes to Malaysia, it's very real time.
What are the thresholds of e-invoice implementation to be applicable to taxpayers?
Well, very fair question. So right now, Malaysia is implementing e-invoicing in 3 phases, or in simple 3 time periods. So coming with the very first phase, which is going to be implemented in August 2024, 1st August 2024. This applies to a company whose turnover or revenue have not exceeded or have just reached RM100 million Malaysian currency. Yes. 100 millions of Malaysian currency in the beginning of 2025, which is 1st Jan 2025, and next is like 1st June 2025. These will be the next 2 phases. So the next 2 phases will cover the taxpayers who fall between 25 million ringgits and 100 million ringgits, and the third phase will cover all the rest of the smallest players of Malaysian country.
Moving on to the next question, is there any adjustment window allowed to the supplier to cancel the invoice submitted to the IRBM?
Yes, actually any supplier who issued an invoice can make an adjustments to their invoices within 72 hours time frame. So after that, if they want to even make an adjustment, they might not upfront make an adjustment, but they have to cancel it in the form of a credit note or a debit note if there is an increase in the value of invoice. So that's how it works.
The next question is, what is a TIN number and how do taxpayers issue an e-invoice to non-TIN holders? such as foreigners or foreign buyers or B2C customers, etc.
Okay, so basically TIN, every citizen or any person living in a country will have a taxation identification number.
Yeah.
So it might be named after different terminologies in each country, whereas in Malaysia they named it as TIN. So basically it's a taxation identification number. And the second part, what if, I think this question comes into picture only when a B2C invoice is issued. Okay, so if the buyer is a citizen of Malaysia, or if he is holding TIN, he can tell his TIN number or passport number or MyCard identification number for a B2C invoice under buyer details to note. Whereas if the buyer is not a TIN holder, then IRBM has issued a number which similarly looks like a TIN format. So basically TIN is a 13-digit format number. So IRBM has issued that starts with EI and rest completely with zeros, which ends with 20. So any supplier, when issuing a B2C invoice to a buyer who is not having TIN number, can use this number as a stagnant TIN identification number.
Okay. So Karthik, the next question is, what should suppliers follow during transition phase for e-invoicing?
Okay, well, so few suppliers might stay back, or due to their own technical reasons they might not have yet implemented, even though it's mandatory as per compliance or legal parts. They might have not yet started or incorporated the technical systems into their ERP, or some reasons they might have not followed. So those people can actually follow their existing or old practices, how they were issuing their invoices, bills or receipts, whatever, in their own previous formats. And once they implement the invoicing, they can start following the invoicing guidelines issued by IRBM.
So the next question is, how does IRBM validate the e-invoices? What are the parameters?
So right now IRBM has given their own list of fields or list of parameters that it would check while validating. So every invoice, IRBM expects from every invoice almost around 34 mandatory fields and 17 optional fields to validate. So out of which the main, obviously, tax identification number would be the main parameter that IRBM would check. It would check for few invoice details like invoice date, invoice place of origin, etc., and buyer details, supplier details, and then line item details, and then invoice summary details. So overall, combining all this, it had made some 34 mandatory fields to validate.
So the next question is there any cases where IRBM gives a different invoice number rather than the one given by the supplier?
The specific answer is no. Okay. In reality, like IRBM takes the entire set of data from supplier, or else it will accept the entire set of data given by supplier, and it will validate and then send back the same old data along with unique identification number by IRBM, which can later be used for any further validations, even by supplier or buyer who receives the invoice.
The next question is there any specific application required to scan the QR code for validation or?
No, actually it's a very generic QR code being issued by IRBM. In fact, it's not being issued by IRBM. Actually, IRBM just releases or else gives back a link to generate QR code by service providers. So service providers actually use that link to generate a QR code and embed it on the PDF, which can be scanned by any simple QR code scanners, including a camera in our mobile phones.
So the next question is, what is the file format sent to IRBM for validation purpose?
IRBM is right now accepting two file formats. One is XML and the second one is JSON.
So the last question is, what are the types of transactions that come under e-invoicing in Malaysia?
Okay, I'll bifurcate the question into two parts.
Okay.
One is the type of transactions that are covered in Malaysia under e-invoicing are B2B transactions, B2C transactions and B2G transactions. Whereas when it comes to what are the type of documents that covers under e-invoicing in Malaysia are invoicing or a main invoice, credit note, debit note, and in addition to any other country, the new thing that we will see, or very rarely we will see, is a refund note. So to explain something in simple about refund note, if there is any adjustment to your invoice or any adjustment to your transactions, or when you issue a credit note or a debit note, when supplier has to issue some refund to its buyers, then along with refund money, supplier also has an obligation, or it's his responsibility to issue a refund note too.
Thank you for watching this video, guys. Please like, share and subscribe. We have given other details in the description below. If you want to contact us for any information or any partnership regarding Malaysia or Malaysian e-invoicing, feel free to contact us using those details. Thank you again for watching this video. Thank you, Karthik.
Hey, thank you very much.